Welcome back to our channel, dear viewer. Today is a beautiful day to dive deep into the shadows of Genoa City. We are thrilled to bring you the most explosive and heart-pounding updates from your favorite drama. Grab a comfortable seat, take a deep breath, and let us explore the treacherous secrets that are about to change everything. Young and the Restless. Spoilers. The majestic halls of the Newman estate have always been a fortress of power, but tonight they serve as the backdrop for a chilling game of deception. Nikki Newman, the elegant matriarch who has endured unimaginable suffering, is harboring a miraculous secret. After weeks of suffocating darkness, her vision has finally begun to return, painting her world with fragile, blurry shapes that grow sharper with each passing hour. Yet, instead of sharing this euphoric medical breakthrough with her fiercely protective husband, Victor Newman, Nikki has chosen the path of silence. She uses her perceived blindness as the ultimate invisible cloak, allowing her to observe the hidden, treacherous machinations of the man she loves. The darkness that once imprisoned her has now become her greatest weapon, but how long can a woman pretend to live in the shadows when she is desperately searching for the light? Will her dangerous masquerade lead to her ultimate liberation, or will it destroy the very foundation of her marriage? The catalyst for Nikki's dangerous deception is rooted in a brutal, bloody chapter of Genoa City's recent history. Jack Abbott, a man who has always held a complicated but tender place in Nikki's heart, was viciously stabbed and nearly lost his life at the hands of the deranged Patty Williams. The entire city was led to believe that this was a tragic failure of the psychiatric system, a catastrophic error made by the disgraced doctor, Lawrence Markham. However, Nikki's intimate knowledge of her husband's ruthless nature and his historical, venomous hatred for Jack has planted a seed of terrifying doubt in her mind. She knows Victor's capabilities, his boundless resources, and his absolute refusal to let any perceived slight go unpunished. As she navigates the ranch with her white cane, her mind races with horrifying possibilities. Could the man she sleeps beside truly be the architect of such malicious violence? What dark truths lie buried beneath the polished veneer of Victor Newman's empire? Driven by an agonizing need for the truth, Nikki embarks on a terrifying espionage mission within the walls of her own home. The moment Victor's heavy footsteps fade down the grand staircase and the front door clicks shut, Nikki drops her facade. Her eyes, though still sensitive to the glaring light, scan the opulent surroundings with desperate intensity. She makes her way to Victor's private sanctuary, the grand home office that serves as the nerve center of his global empire. The mahogany desk, usually an intimidating symbol of Victor's absolute authority, now becomes the target of her frantic investigation. Her trembling hands sift through confidential financial ledgers, encrypted hard drives, and private correspondence, searching for the ultimate betrayal. She knows that if Victor catches her, the consequences will be apocalyptic. What damning evidence is waiting to be unearthed in the shadowy corners of the Newman patriarch's private domain? As Nikki digs deeper into the hidden compartments of Victor's desk, a chilling theory begins to solidify in her mind, a theory so dark it threatens to shatter her sanity. She suspects that Dr. Markham did not release Patty Williams out of sheer medical negligence or a misguided belief in her rehabilitation. Patty has never shown a shred of remorse. Her dangerous, psychotic obsession with Jack Abbott has always been a ticking time bomb. Nikki theorizes that Victor, utilizing his vast wealth and terrifying influence, directly approached the sociopathic Dr. Markham. She imagines a clandestine meeting where Victor offered an astronomical, untraceable bribe to orchestrate Patty's release, knowing exactly what the unhinged woman would do to Jack. If this horrific theory proves true, how will Nikki ever be able to look at her husband the same way again? Can she truly remain married to a man who would orchestrate such a bloodbath? The silence of the office is suddenly shattered by the crunch of gravel in the driveway, followed by the unmistakable, heavy thud of the front door closing. Victor has returned home far earlier than expected. Nikki's heart violently slams against her ribcage, the sound echoing in her ears like a deafening drumbeat. Panic, raw and suffocating, grips her throat as she realizes the catastrophic danger of her current position. She is standing over his open drawers, holding documents that she is not supposed to be able to see, bathed in the soft glow of the desk lamp. The heavy, measured footsteps of her husband begin to echo down the hallway, moving with the deliberate, predatory grace that has always defined Victor. He is approaching the office, and she has only seconds to react. Will Nikki be able to erase the traces of her betrayal before the Black Knight crosses the threshold, or is her dangerous game about to come to a violent, crashing halt? Operating purely on adrenaline and a desperate instinct for survival, Nikki scrambles to reset the room to its pristine, untouched state. Her hands move with frantic precision, sliding the confidential files back into their exact folders, gently closing the heavy wooden drawers, and ensuring the desk looks perfectly undisturbed. She snatches her white mobility cane from the floor, her fingers gripping the cold metal like a lifeline. With barely a second to spare, she carefully positions herself in the center of the room, intentionally knocking her hip against a leather armchair to simulate the clumsy disorientation of a blind woman. She forces her eyes to lose their focus, adopting the vacant, unseeing stare that has become her daily mask. Her breathing is ragged, her entire body trembling with the aftershocks of her near discovery. As the brass doorknob slowly begins to turn, a chilling thought crosses her mind. Has she truly covered her tracks, or did she leave behind a fatal clue that will seal her doom? The heavy mahogany door swings open, and the imposing, formidable figure of Victor Newman fills the frame. The air in the room instantly grows colder, thick with an unspoken, suffocating tension. Victor pauses at the threshold, his sharp, calculating eyes sweeping over the room before landing on his. Nikki stands frozen, her heart hammering against her ribs, her unseeing eyes staring blankly at a spot on the wall just past his shoulder. She plays the role of the vulnerable, sightless victim to perfection, offering a weak, trembling smile and asking if that is him standing there. Victor remains silent for a prolonged, agonizing moment, his presence radiating an overwhelming aura of power and suspicion. He studies her posture, the white cane gripped tightly in her hand, the slight tremor in her voice. What is going through the mind of the ruthless patriarch as he gazes upon the woman he has vowed to protect? Does he see a helpless wife, or does he sense the presence of a traitor in his midst? Despite Nikki's flawless performance, Victor's predatory instincts are legendary, and nothing escapes his meticulous attention to detail. As he slowly steps into the office, his piercing gaze drifts from Nikki to the surface of his massive mahogany desk. There, sitting just millimeters out of its proper alignment, is a heavy crystal paperweight. Beside it, a highly confidential leather-bound folder is slightly askew, a stark contrast to the absolute, geometric perfection Victor demands in his workspace. The discrepancy is microscopic, a tiny flaw that anyone else would easily overlook. But to a man who controls his environment with tyrannical precision, it is a glaring, screaming siren. Victor's jaw clenches invisibly as the realization washes over him. Someone has been searching his desk, and the only other person in the room is his supposedly blind wife. How will the Black Knight react to this silent, devastating revelation of betrayal within his own sanctuary? A dark, dangerous storm begins to brew within Victor's mind as he silently processes the staggering implications of the misaligned folder. If Nikki is truly blind, she would have no reason to be hovering over his desk, let alone handling his private documents. The horrific realization that his beloved wife might be faking her blindness to spy on him strikes Victor like a physical blow, blending a deep, agonizing heartbreak with a cold, ruthless fury. He wonders what exactly she was looking for, and more importantly, what she might have found. Does she know about his financial maneuvers, or is she hunting for the truth about Dr. Markham and Jack Abbott? Instead of unleashing his notorious temper and confronting her directly, Victor makes a chilling, calculated decision. He will not expose her lie just yet. He will use it against her to uncover her true motive. What twisted psychological torment is Victor preparing to inflict upon the woman who has dared to cross him? The deadly game of cat and mouse officially commences as Victor decides to test his wife's vision in the most subtle, nerve-wracking ways imaginable. He walks over to the elegant wet bar in the corner of the office, the clinking of crystal glasses breaking the heavy silence. He pours 2 glasses of bourbon, his eyes never leaving Nikki's reflection in the mirrored backsplash. Approaching her with slow, deliberate steps, he holds out the glass, but he does not announce his action or touch the glass to her hand. He simply holds it in the air, mere inches from her grasp, waiting in absolute silence. It is a trap designed with cruel perfection, A truly blind person would not know the glass is there, but a sighted person's natural instinct would be to reach out and take it. The seconds stretch into an eternity as the glass hovers in the air. Will Nikki's reflexes betray her, or will she possess the iron will required to ignore the object right in front of her eyes? Nikki's newly restored vision catches the glint of the crystal glass hovering in her peripheral view, and a jolt of pure, unadulterated terror shoots down her spine. She instantly recognizes the silent, malicious trap her husband has laid for her. The realization that Victor suspects her deception hits her with the force of a freight train, stealing the breath from her lungs. She forces her hands to remain perfectly still, her eyes maintaining their vacant, empty stare, even as her mind screams in panic. She waits for him to speak, forcing him to verbally offer the drink, thereby passing his twisted test by a razor-thin mark. But the psychological toll of this silent warfare is immense. She is now acutely aware that every movement, every step, every breath she takes in this house will be scrutinized by a man who possesses a terrifying mastery of psychological manipulation. How long can Nikki endure the suffocating pressure of being hunted by her own husband in the place she calls home? The Grand Newman estate, once a symbol of immense wealth and familial security, instantly transforms into a beautiful, gilded prison of paranoia. The psychological warfare escalates rapidly over the following days, pushing both Victor and Nikki to the absolute brink of their sanity. Victor begins to leave deliberate, dangerous obstacles in her path. He watches her from the shadows, his eyes burning with a mixture of sorrow and vindictive curiosity, waiting for her to instinctively step around a hazard she is not supposed to see. Nikki, hyper-aware of his invisible gaze, must force herself to stumble, to collide with objects, and to endure physical pain just to maintain her desperate illusion. The air between them becomes thick with unspoken accusations and toxic secrets, turning their marriage into a suffocating battleground. Who will be the first to crack under the unbearable weight of this relentless, silent torment? As the days bleed into nights, the tension in the Newman household reaches a catastrophic boiling point, setting the stage for an explosive and inevitable confrontation. Nikki is dangerously close to uncovering the irrefutable, encrypted evidence that proves Victor funded Dr. Markham's release of Patty Williams, a revelation that will destroy their family forever. Meanwhile, Victor's patience is wearing dangerously thin. His silent tests are becoming more aggressive, more direct, and increasingly impossible for Nikki to navigate without exposing her secret. The dam of lies is cracking, and the floodwaters of truth are threatening to drown them both in a sea of betrayal and heartbreak. When the final confrontation erupts, will it end in a tragic, tearful reconciliation, or will this psychological war finally reduce the mighty Newman Empire to a pile of burning ash?